Alright.
Classic lion. You don't see the lion anymore, do you? Does he still
No.
do that thing?
Well, I think they do have the lion, but I don't know. Amazon bought out MGM, so I don't know.
The lion always reminds me of this old lion movie, Born Free, where they like rescue a lion or something. But I haven't watched it since I was like 4 years old, so I don't really remember what it's about.
Born Free.
Old lion rescue film, something like that.
Yeah, that's a classic logo. You know, the big roaring lion. I think they still have it, but it's just a little shorter, and something tells me like the background logo swirls around it, something like that. I don't know. So Red Dawn. This is It's not the best movie, but I still love it just for its political intrigue. John Milius, the writer, wrote great, like some of the best movies of all time. Like he wrote Apocalypse Now, but he wrote it. He didn't direct it. He's not the best director, but he's an awesome writer. He just writes awesome, manly, politically intriguing, masculine stories. Like Red Dawn.
Yeah, I've seen this movie before, and it's fun. You kind of like, people band together to fight the Reds or something like that. They're like parachuting down, right?
Yeah, exactly. The Soviets and the Nicaraguans and the Cubans or something like started an invasion of, I think this is Colorado, and they punch right up through the center of the country, split it in half, and attack
Yeah, we
small town
gotta
America.
we gotta keep our major communist adversaries from, you know, occupying nearby American nations, so they can't parachute in and take over our cities.
Well, I mean, this is a sort of obvious fantasy. Like the political idea that Nicaragua and Russia and Cuba could possibly invade America, and like the real threat has got to come from the US government allowing some sort of foreign invasion to happen, not that it's like sprung upon the US government. You know what I mean? There's no way like the Russians invade through Texas and punch up to
Yeah,
Colorado. It's just,
it's absurd.
yeah, it's absurd, but it's awesome because it gives Americans the fantasy of finally being able to like test your Americanness. Like, these commies invaded us, we gotta kill them, we gotta do all this stuff. When in reality, like we were talking about yesterday, the downfall in the future is not going to be exciting. It's not going to be the Russians invade American soil and we all find our common Americanness and get guns and band together. No, it's going to be the country just slowly dissolves as foreign actors just do what they want to it. It's not going to be as exciting as Red Dawn.
Right, exactly. And you just can't expect that there's going to be like a lot of competent attention paid to the functionality of working life for a while, I think, at least, because we're just entering a time of rapid change without getting too far into it. Uh-oh, they're here.
Yeah, like the invasion isn't going to be Russians parachuting into small American towns. It's Indians being brought in to just take every job and every house we're being invaded without firing a shot, which is more humiliating than Red Dawn, even though this is, I don't know, like this looks way worse. Russian commandos like getting ready to take out these virile young Americans, innocent young Americans. Yeah, well.
Nobody's around to do anything about this. Total surprise. What's going on?
Total surprise. Oh.
Really off-timed effects.
Yeah.
How did they do the glass effect, you think?
That's a good question. I don't know. There's no way they really shot bullets over a bunch of kids. But
right?
maybe they. I don't know. I really don't know. That's an interesting question.
And that rocket must have been on a wire or
Yeah,
something, you know, like.
Definitely. Well, the movie's got awesome effects. I just love good explosions and gunfire and just awesome. Yeah, John Milius. It's just he's one of the notable Hollywood conservatives who just his movies have this bent of aggression and heroics that are just they're not around in movies anymore. And even at the time, like Apocalypse Now was such a quintessential Vietnam movie. I know you haven't seen it, but it's just such a fantastic Vietnam movie and adaptation of that book Heart of Darkness, where instead of a guy sailing into the interior of Africa to find a guy, it's about a commando going into the interior of Vietnam to find a colonel that went rogue. It's just great. But, you know, John Milius doesn't get the credit he deserved. He wrote Conan the Barbarian and did that with Oliver Stone. He wrote this movie called Big Wednesday. He was a California guy who loved surfing. And he wrote this movie called Big Wednesday about a bunch of 60s hippies who were having a great time going surfing and being long-haired blonde guys, but then the Vietnam War comes around. And all the characters are trying to avoid getting drafted in the Vietnam War. But there's this one very John Milius-esque character who it's not that he doesn't want to be drafted. He feels a sense of duty and obligation and decides to just sign up for the war in Vietnam. Because it's his duty as an American patriot. But yeah, I don't know. Just awesome stories like that. He gets credit, in my book. Because he was part of this USC...
Yep. These are fun kinds of stories, you know. You like you said, I didn't see Apocalypse Now, but I understand what you're saying, that these are kind of, you know, very fervently patriotic kind of fun movies that give you example of fantasy, basically.
Exactly. They've got guns. It's about Americans killing commies with guns and being righteous, but also having the difficult, honorable task of having to persecute a rebellion and a war. I don't know. It was great stuff. Yeah, John Milius was one of those guys who graduated USC Film School with I think it was George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola. And I don't know if Steven Spielberg, but he was in those class of great directors. You know, the guy who made Star Wars and The Godfather, but he wasn't the director. He was the writer. He was the guy who would do punch-ups on their scripts and add amazing stuff. He was the guy who wrote the line in Dirty Harry. That whole scene's make my day. I don't know if you've ever seen Dirty Harry, but just classic lines he added to that.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one. I know the line you're talking about, though.
Yeah, just a legend. But he was one of those funny conservatives. He was pro-war, pro-guns, Republican, but like, I don't know, he was just like a fat guy. Didn't get to serve in Vietnam, even though he wanted to. It's just like one of those conservatives who like, they never really did anything conservative other than like carry a gun around sometimes and write crazy movies in support of the Iraq War. He's like, fuck yeah. Just one of those guys. Just nothing else like him in Hollywood.
Yeah, I don't have the confidence or maybe the land to be this, like much of a gun-toting conservative cowboy. I'm not bold enough to be like making movies about, anti-communist, patriotic. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
It's like somehow the life of a renter just doesn't lend itself to like gun collection and that sort of lifestyle and culture. You know what I mean?
I understand. I understand. I'm living with my mom in her basement thinking like, I'm going to buy an assault rifle. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like you need living space security and autonomy.
Yeah, you need a ranch. You need like, imagine if you tried to fire off guns in your yard, the police would come.
Yeah.
Well, the police
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Just have to live like a communist peasant. No big ranch. No, not able to fire your guns whenever you want, any time of the day.
Yeah, you gotta own land first before a lot of these other things are practical.
Yeah, you're only a real American if you own land and have to ride an ATV from different parts of your land. Or like one of those Polaris golf carts. You like.
Yeah, that's the dream, man. How many acres is that? Is that like 40 acres?
Oh, I don't know.
By the time you're taking the ATV around, because 5 acres over here isn't that much. You could just walk. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass to get from corner to corner, I guess, but I don't really have anything. There's nothing on the other side here.
Yeah, but you also have a lot of woods and slopes and mountains. Imagine 5 acres but flat in the middle of Utah.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe that would. You ride your Polaris from like fence post to fence post and be like, something's been here. Something's messing with my fence posts. What's going on? The Russians. It's the Russians messing with my fence posts out here, doing secret operations.
Moving 1 foot every night.
Yeah, exactly. These Nicaraguan commandos dig up your fence post and just put them over like half a foot, just to mess with your mind. Is that what
this guy is? He's Nicaraguan?
I think so. I think he's like a Nicaraguan colonel who's been like trained by the Cubans, and just to come persecute this war on American soil.
Where is this filmed?
Colorado? I don't know. It takes place in Colorado, I think.
Okay.
I don't know exactly where it's filmed.
Maybe southern Colorado, I guess.
Yeah. Do you have your phone by you?
We'll check.
Yeah. Look it up. Yeah, it's a good. I like movies where the nature plays a part and the scenery is cool enough that it doesn't look like you're filming in grandma's backyard.
It was shot around Las Vegas.
Las Vegas?
Standing in the fictional town of Calumet, Colorado.
This is filmed in Las Vegas?
Yeah, Vegas, Johnson Mesa, New Mexico, Ghost Ranch, Abiqui, New Mexico, Memorial Middle School.
Well, I know northern Nevada probably has some like of these nice trees, like up towards Reno or something. But I didn't.
You go southeast from Las Vegas towards Kingman, I think. They've got this highway with all these really pretty canyons, and I bet somewhere around there must be where they filmed this. Let me take a look real quick.
Okay. interesting.
Yeah, so if you go from Kingman to Boulder City, like northeast on the Nevada State Highway 93, or no, wait, that is not Nevada, that is Arizona State Highway 93. So from Kingman, Arizona to Henderson or Boulder City, Nevada, that's a really pretty drive. So maybe they did that somewhere around there, or they've also got Red Rock Canyon National Park and Charleston Peak, which that actually might be where this is, west of Vegas, Charleston Peak. That makes the most sense. Easier to commute from LA to Charleston Peak, I guess, since it's on the west side.
Yeah, so up around there it starts to look like this with forests and like mountainy and...
I've been up to Charleston Peak, but yeah, from the elevation it looks like it would look like that, and there's some nice canyons and stuff in Kingman, the Kingman area northwest going towards Vegas. It looks really pretty, and it's got quite a bunch of big elevation changes, so yeah, there's geographical potential in the area for this kind of filming.
It's actually all fake. This is just all in a stage in Hollywood.
It's cardboard backgrounds.
Yeah, they just built all this.
Painted.
Yeah, they just painted those trees. They're really good. Really good painting. That truck is also fake. It's a matte painting in the background.
It's paper mache.
Yeah, big balsa wood truck. Yeah, but I think that this is a fun. It's a movie that you almost feel like should be remade so the quality could be brought up. But at the same time, they already tried, and I didn't see the 2012 one. I can't imagine it's very good. And they definitely can't remake it today because of the people that are around they would like make these guys bad guys and the Russians would be the good guys. It would just switch it all around.
Now, why doesn't the environment ever look real like this in movies anymore? These trees look so, like, normal.
I think an actual positive aspect of this movie is that John Milius wasn't that great of a director, so they're kind of just like shooting some nature and they just go to a spot in nature. I think maybe when you're a competent, skilled director with a super high budget, you're not just going to some random fallen over tree or, I don't know, just some random spot in the forest. I don't know. Something about this movie and its environments it's just a really nice, maybe unintentional touch. Although, maybe he was just trying his hardest, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Now all these other actors are, but you got young Charlie Sheen, young Patrick Swayze, Jennifer Grey is the girl that's coming later. Great cast. Makes you want to drink a cup of deer blood like they're about to do.
Oh man, this guy, what was I doing? So he seemed like he was kind of methy. He was renting an apartment that I was doing some repairs in. I was like repairing some section of soft, soggy flooring at the doorway. And he was talking to me the whole time, telling me a story about how he was like, I think dating a Native American girl who like he went to some tribal meetup, but the chief was giving him shit and like gave him a knife, told him to go out in the woods and kill a deer with the knife and not to come back until he brings back a deer. And so he like waited and he like went out there. I don't remember exactly what he was saying, but he was telling a story that made it sound like he was definitely irritating the living shit out of everybody there. He was a pretty irritating guy. And so like, but he says he waited in the tree for hours until a deer came by. Turned out to be a doe, he says, but like he just jumped down and stabbed it a bunch of times in the neck, and it was thrashing around, and he just like kept stabbing it, and then he drug it back, and then they let him stay there and keep irritating them for a while.
And the chief was like, "What the fuck are you doing, man? The game warden is gonna be pissed. Are you kidding?"
This is just somewhere to Seattle, you know?
That's so crazy.
I don't know if it was on one of the islands or not, but I can't remember everything about the story.
You just had to try to impress some native people. They never thought he'd do it.
It was been bullshit, but I believed him. You know, there was something about the way he was telling it and the way that he was behaving where it all just kind of lined up. I was like, yeah, he probably really did do that. Pretty irritating guy, you know. I think like what probably convinced me was that like he was telling a story that made it sound like everybody knew he was really irritating and was trying to get rid of him, like the chief was trying to get him out of there. But like he was just oblivious, and that's what the story was like, and he was acting like that in real life too. So I'm like, yeah, this all sounds accurate, you know. You wouldn't tell if you knew you were annoying. You wouldn't tell a story about people trying to get rid of you and you being annoying, but like tell it in a way that you don't realize it. Like you wouldn't just obviously it seems true.
That's true. As long as he didn't frame it in a way that made him seem like a badass, because then that's kind of how you know it's a lie, right?
Well, he kind of did, where he's like, yeah, so I went into, you know, but he did it in a way where it sounded like he was being really annoying, and he was acting the same kind of annoying that he was being in the story that he was telling. So it's like, that lines up at least.
Just smoked a lot of meth and stabbed a hiker, and then just left.
Yeah. It was a story of behavior that he totally seemed to, you know, it was on pattern with how he was, so right. That's why I believed it.
Okay. There you go. This is what the people in Greenland are going to feel like soon.
Yeah, I know.
we get in there.
You going to move there?
I don't know. That seems like it would blow. To live in Greenland?
Do some plumbing or something?
Yeah, just get up there and just do heroin there. I mean, that's what we're gonna bring. We'll take Greenland and it'll be immediately filled with like
heroin. Greenland? What are we gonna do with it?
Just use it.
You gotta move there first.
Immediately just import lots of junkies to Greenland.
Yeah, maybe that's going to be the new prison colony.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was reading that European countries were sending their soldiers to Greenland as a show of force, but like,
what?
Not really a show of force.
I wonder what's going to happen over there.
I don't know. It's very strange. I felt like we're probably right on the money when we were talking about how the U.S. is broke and they're just trying to get tangible assets. But then Trump is talking about making the Golden Dome, like Israel's Iron Dome, but over the Arctic.
Talk about nobody.
So the Arctic will be 100%
right. Well,
anti-missile.
That lines up with those. I think that they're going to try to be building another military base there and get a wider spread of naval and airspace and digital assets across the region.
Right. This is my favorite scene in the movie, I think. The big concentration camp where they sent all the kids' parents. America is a whorehouse. Capitalism is evil. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. The threat comes from within. I was listening to a speech by the mayor of New York, Zoran Mamdani, and he had this quote that is just crazy to hear. It almost sounds fake. He said, "We will replace the frigidity of individualism with the warmth of collectivism." That's the most...
What kind of collectivism, I guess?
That's the most communist shit I've ever heard in my entire life. The warmth of collectivism.
Yeah, I wonder what that means exactly. I don't know much about what his policy is supposed to be.
Well, I mean, he keeps denying it, but him and people that he's sort of appointing and have supported him have openly talked about policies of just trying to, expand free things like buses and childcare and stuff like that, but also trying to heavily tax more wealthy, whiter parts of New York. But it's not even me saying it, like, they specifically mention that they want to tax the whiter parts of New York at higher rates. And then when confronted, they sort of backpedal. They're like, well, we didn't actually say that. But then they literally just have said that. So I mean, this guy's just crazy. We don't even need the Russians to invade if we got guys like him running New York.
Yeah, I think we're in for a period of rapid change, and I think the next big thing economically is going to be an automation problem, and we're just going to lose a lot of white collar jobs to AI, I think, and see what happens in the economy.
Do you watch 60 Minutes?
No,
I watched
I have before.
Yeah, I watched a 60 Minutes today about the Atlas robot from Boston Dynamics.
Yeah, how's that one doing?
Well, you remember watching the old flipping robots, like they're like
Yeah.
dancing and flipping around. It's got like no head, it's the big body. Now they have the Atlas bots, which have a little like flat camera head and a thinner body. I think the measurements are 5'9", 200 pounds, so it's something like that. But it was an interesting video because it was talking about, training the robots with like AI, letting the robots feel around the world and learn themselves, running programs where they have like 1,000 virtual Atlas bots. Like the thing they did was like they had the 60 Minutes interviewer do jumping jacks with like the things attached to him, and then like 1,000 virtual Atlas bots would do the jumping jacks, some with variables to like just change up the scenario, just to train itself, and then it would just do the jumping jacks and mimic the guy's movements. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
But what I thought was the most interesting is they were talking about, the CEO of Boston Dynamics was talking about, there's obviously competition from the Chinese government and all the money they're pouring into robotics. But they opened this Atlas robot plant. It's in a Hyundai plant.
Yeah.
So it's strange because it's an American robotics company with Boston Dynamics, but the facility where they're building it and where they're training it and the funding is Korean. So they had this Korean guy come in at the end who's like the leader of the global business ventures or something, come and assess like how they're doing with the Atlas bots, and he's just like, yes, they are very good, we like the robots. But just so strange. I don't know, you'd think that'd be like, I mean, obviously South Korea's under the American military umbrella, but I mean, it's right next to China. So I don't know, it's very strange.
Yeah, well, they have some kind of manufacturing expertise that we don't. That's what they're supposed to be here teaching us how to, produce these microchips for. So I don't know exactly the nature of. I know we don't do enough tool and die making in this country. Almost all of that is gone, and then from there you've just got this long series of like layers of things to do for the manufacturing industry to like make it efficient at scale that we just don't really have here. And I'm not sure how much of that like which layers are really where the bottlenecks are other than the tool and die thing. I don't understand the whole ecosystem of the South Korean manufacturing that we're missing. I'm not sure what it is.
I don't know what it is either, but they're obviously not making these robots at Ford plants. They're making them in Hyundai plants. So,
I don't know. We need. It seems like I wouldn't be opposed to trying to help develop some kind of robotics manufacturing plant if I figured that there was some kind of reasonable avenue in this country to do so. It just seems totally intractable.
it does. Like you would think that there'd be some sort of, I don't know, Ford or GM or something, but they're probably, I mean, the Koreans, they've got the manufacturing down pat. American manufacturing companies that are complicated, like Ford and GM and this shit, they're like too big to fail
Yeah,
companies. They don't have to do shit all day,
yeah,
right?
even these gigantic companies can't figure it out on their own. What the fuck is up with that? You know?
I think they're just, I don't know. I mean, I think that Ford and GM in a perfect world could obviously retool to like make robots and get a company to come in and manufacture the robots with the car, the quick car manufacturing arms, and obviously the reason it's in the car factory, other than the building and the whatever, is they're training it to do the jobs that humans are doing, like lifting stuff and identifying little parts. But
Right.
I don't know, but Ford and GM are just not doing that. So, hypothetically, the the robots that America will be building for itself are just, they're going to be built by Korea, which is just right next to China. I don't know. Like they have the factory here, so they might be building the robots here, but at any moment, since it's Korean, it could just all be made from Korea. And then,
I'm
like,
not sure what the ownership structure of Hyundai plants in this country. I don't really understand much about the ownership structure of these large auto manufacturers. That they've got plants all over the world and different divisions. You know, they're big conglomerates of other corporations that keep buying
right,
each other.
right.
I can't keep track of it. It's like trying to be a sports guy or something like that. There's too much to keep track of, is what it feels like with the automakers.
Yeah, all these guys have to do is ride these badass horses and kill communists. They don't have to think about what sort of Chinese conglomerate possibly owns GM.
Yeah, well, I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, it's a shame that we didn't try to figure out how to maintain more of our critical base of industries for manufacturing. I don't know, like tool and die at least. I don't know what else is missing. There's a lot of stuff we don't do that we
There's
probably
everything.
should try to.
Yeah, for national security. You remember during COVID when everybody found out that we made zero pharmaceuticals in this country or any PPE supplies. It's just
Yeah,
all
that
made in
seems
China. The only
disadvantageous.
the only thing we had were booze manufacturers switching up their production to make hand sanitizer. That's all we had. And they were kind of proud of themselves. They were like, we got the hand sanitizer game down pat. But that's the
It seemed like everybody was trying to think of what they were going to do with that lockdown time. You know, they
right.
were like, "Oh my God!" It's like, you get all this time to just figure out what to do, and people were like, "Oh, can I figure out a way to sell masks or hand sanitizer? What else is there? You can make toilet paper
Right.
easily. Really doesn't work." So,
People's grandmas were like selling masks, right? They were like hand sewing
mm,
masks and
yeah.
selling them.
Everybody was making fabric masks somehow,
Right,
or
exactly.
ordering them.
Yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous. Well, I guess you can't blame people for trying. Since we don't make anything else, you might as well sew fabric together and sell it to people.
Textiles seems really difficult to make a profit
Oh,
in this country.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, 100%. I told you about the dressmaker I talked to, right?
I don't think so.
When I was driving Uber in California, I picked up a dressmaker. And I was just, picking his brain all about the fabric, the textiles and dressmaking industry. He was specifically wedding dresses. And he said in the 80s, he was making $500,000 a year making custom wedding dresses, owning his own factory. In the 90s, by the time NAFTA came around, he was making a little under $200K a year. But all the seamstresses started to disappear. All got outsourced to Mexico and stuff. And that lasted up until Trump announced it was just from there until Trump announced the tariffs, his profits were just slowly eroding. And then once Trump announced the tariffs, it all went up in smoke because, importing silk from China, importing textiles from China just became 3 to 4 times more expensive, not necessarily because of the tariff rates, but because of the volatility of the rate. Nobody knew what it was going to be. So
right, and everybody's stocking up and taking up the supply.
Right, and then so he said something like a yard of silk from America, it would be like $1, $5, something like that. But then he said a yard of silk from China is like 10 cents. So, and then he was talking all about the economics of the wedding dress, where it's like they could make a homemade wedding dress, but Americans aren't going to pay around $10,000 for a custom-made wedding dress. Nobody's going to pay that much unless you're really rich. And so, he was on the way to go back to Portugal to visit his sick mother and trying to figure out some sort of consulting business he could be doing because he had to move out of textiles. So it was a real shame. I mean, these are the kinds
What kind of consulting do you do?
I don't know. It's something in fashion, something like that. Some sort of fashion adjacent field.
I just charge $200 an hour to tell people stuff on the phone.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a sad story. You get this like obviously flamboyant gay guy whose thing is to make girls' dresses, except he's got his own business. He's making $500,000 a year, hiring tons of domestic seamstresses.
Mm-hmm.
That's a small business. Well, that's the fucking dream, to have your own manufacturing business and fashion. I mean, that's not my dream, but it's like that's the dream, to be able to even imagine a business and spin it up like that and not be burdened with obscene costs and having the people with enough skill to be able to do it. And now it's all gone.
Yeah, I know, it's a shame. There's all kinds of people who would have to close up their shops. I don't know, you gotta pick the right thing for this kind of economy, I guess.
What can you even do anymore? I mean, the beauty of having a successful country is you don't even need to pick the business. There are just like, things are so robust and dynamic. All you need to do is have the ability to get all the pieces together and you could do it. But when the textiles are too much and there are no seamstresses and nobody's buying the dress because you could just order it from China, it's like, you just lost.
Yeah, I know. It's rough. You gotta figure out some other way to make sure things are heading in the right direction. It's hard to compete with China on manufacturing most stuff. I'm not really sure what to say about that.
Yeah, nothing. Because it's not even like I don't know, I guess it is an economic thing, but the skilled workers aren't even here anymore. You know, they're all in Mexico.
Yeah.
There are no, like, I mean, there's an obvious racial angle too. He was saying, like, you know, there used to be lots of Asian and Eastern European women who would teach their daughters living in America, or new immigrants, they would just be seamstresses, but they're able to make a living because the dresses are manufactured here. And then it just goes away.
Yeah. Well, what are we all gonna do when our white-collar jobs and some of our blue-collar jobs go away?
I don't know. Live in the woods like the Wolverines and just try to shoot at random military convoys. That's it. Nothing else to do.
Well, maybe you can just have fun on your universal basic income.
That's what they say.
Coupons.
That's what, like, I mean, growing up, that was always the idea. Is like, oh, it would actually be a good thing because
It takes away your upward mobilities, you know, so it's
Yeah.
still a plague in a way. So
right.
it's a concession.
Plus, the mass printing of greenbacks would raise the prices of everything. So, you know, who knows what if your universal basic income is $1,600 a month, who really knows what that'll be in $20, $50? It could be nothing.
Yeah. One way or another, the productive capacity could theoretically be there to produce more than we do now. So I mean, that's kind of the bottom line of, like, but it's like, what are you going to be producing? Are we going to rapidly shift towards producing things for corporations and you know, neo-feudalist lords, or are we going to continue to produce a ton of consumer goods and increase consumer goods production? I don't know. I mean, if we make enough stuff, there's some way to work it out so that it doesn't have to be like a hyperinflationary scenario, but it's just whether or not they'll actually achieve that, I guess.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that, I think this country's had a problem of not really, you know, resting on its laurels of a lot of things it's got set up, like the petrodollar and just kind of the easy expensive parts of a lot of, like, manufacturing and assembly chains and sales chains. You know, we're just making money off of selling things other people make to our own people, largely.
Yeah, you mean it has rested on its laurels?
Huh?
You mean the country has rested on its laurels?
Yeah.
By just, Yeah, I know, and then you don't, I mean, we have all the oil, but oil's not that cheap. I mean, I guess it's cheap compared to Western Europe, you know, others, like if you look at all the other places where you'd want to live, here, Western Europe, Australia.
And frankly, I think if you calculate for inflation, gasoline has actually gotten cheaper. Price of gas really is considering the price of everything else.
Right. Yeah, so I don't know. We make a lot of oil. We make a lot of gasoline. We have a lot of oil refined.
Yeah, we're pretty good on it. Like, I know it's not $1 a gallon anymore, but neither is milk, so it's just all going up.
But that's the thing, right? Like, you know, we have our UBI, we have the robots. If hypothetically we could produce so much milk and so much gasoline that gas is $1 a gallon and milk is $1 a gallon, that would be good, I suppose, but
we actually do produce an absurd amount of milk that we just have to throw most of it away. It's
right.
Like security.
Right. But so, you know, what is that going to be like in the future if we, I don't know. Because I guess that's the thought, right, is they're going to have these robots and produce enough goods to bring on what is essentially automated communism, where there is no more private ownership and they just produce enough milk to go around. But I don't know. We'll all become lactose intolerant.
You need that 40 acres.
Yeah.
What kind of livestock would you like to keep? Would you a poultry man or a something, whatever the other stuff is, the quadrupeds?
You mean ruminants? Ruminant animals? The quadrupeds.
What's a ruminant?
A ruminant is like a hoofed animal with a multi-chambered stomach, like a cow, or I think a horse, a goat, a sheep.
Sheep, yeah.
Yeah.
What other kinds of livestock do people keep? There's poultry ruminants, which is a word I've just learned. Is pig not a ruminant?
No, they only have one stomach.
Ah, okay. So
yeah,
that too.
Ruminants are hooves plus multi-chambered stomach.
And you could do like a fish farm thing too. Maybe. What kind of thing would you do?
A fish farm. Yeah, I don't know. You probably have to do a lot of everything. With 40 acres, you got to do a little bit of everything.
Get some cows?
I mean, you got to get like one cow at least, right?
Oh, can't let them be lonely. You got to get at least 2 cows.
Right, at least 2 cows. And then 2 turns into 5, and then 5 is 10 cows. So you have 10 cows, essentially.
Yeah, 2 female cows. That's all you need.
All right.
And then what?
And then
You can have a chicken?
And then the communist government forces you to slaughter your cows, and you lose them all. Damn, yeah, fuck. I don't know, I hate taking care of animals. But maybe at some point in my life I'll be some sort of strange agrarian, like how Thomas Jefferson would want you to be. I'm just an agrarian man. I grow my own food and milk my own cow. And you have a big, happy, healthy family who's like, Dad, I gotta go do the chickens now. And you're like, I already did the chickens this morning. Go do the goats.
Yeah, well, it'd be good if all the jobs go away. When you can't get a job, at least you'll have some kind of like animal to drink from.
Well, that's how it's supposed to be. Jobs are fake. You're not supposed to have a job. You're supposed to have land that you grow food on. You're supposed to be a subsistence farmer. You're not supposed to have a job. The fact that you have a job is a trick.
But yeah, I don't know. Keep some income going for as long as you can. See if you can buy some land if it ever crashes from the unemployment crisis or something taking off, and you got enough of these inflating dollars saved, you can go ahead and get land. Just probably be a really good investment. If you can buy it any lower than it is, it'd be great.
No, but seriously, jobs, they're a trick. In what realm is it normal? Our modern world comes from humans moving out of the rural areas of the country from the Great Depression and into cities to work in factories. And that only works as long as you're not making robots who can do those factory jobs or outsourcing the factories. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to have these jobs, it's a blip. It's a blip in human history. Most humans were just subsistence farmers, and we'll return to being subsistence farmers just because that's all you can do. I don't know. I think it's funny that rich people, you often see this now where rich celebrities, they make a ton of money in Hollywood, and they go buy like a ranch in Italy, and they're just like farming tomatoes now. They're just like, I make tomatoes. That's not what you're supposed to do. You're a rich person. You're supposed to like live in a city and drink.
You Or I suppose by the time you get that level of financial security in the world, in the state that it is, then the only things that you have to worry about is like, oh, what if all this falls apart and my dollars are meaningless? You know,
Right.
what then? Then you want to have the ranch.
So it's like you rebound. You make so much, you win the game, and then you realize that the only reason to win the game is so you can go back to being a subsistence farmer. You now have to, you know, like it's so bizarre. You realize that it's all fake, and it turns out to be a subsistence farmer, you need money now. Because
It was all a trick to make us invent robots.
it was absolutely, it was 100% a trick. Now, the cheap thing to do is not live on your father's farm and grow food. It's to live in a city on government welfare, eating gummy bears and working as an Amazon driver. It's fake.
Oh, I think we're gonna try to make Peking duck one of these days. I got to read up on that recipe.
Ooh. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It sounded amazing the way you described it. What did you say that you stuffed it with? Some kind of like apples and other sweet like
Yeah,
Asian
well,
fruits or something?
from what
And
I
then
re-
it like ends up with candied skin or something.
yeah, from what I remember, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to like dry out the duck for a day, and then like do something to its skin where you cover it in like sugar or something, and then you like let it dry out for another day with this like salt cure so the skin gets tight. Then you stuff it with like oranges and herbs and shit. Yeah, and then you
Star anise or
star
something.
anise. Yeah. I was about to say, yeah, communists hate Peking duck, but I'm pretty sure Chinese communists love Peking duck. So that would be.
Yeah.
I think that's their
It
favorite
sounds,
food.
it sounds like like crispy candied bacon
Yeah,
skin type
exactly.
description. It sounds amazing.
Right.
Gotta try it.
Let's see. I'm gonna ask, as our intrepid heroes fight off the communists, I will value my freedom by using my robot to Google, ask it how to make Peking duck. You're gonna need whole duck, salt, honey, soy sauce, vinegar, sugar, boiling water. Prep the duck, remove the giblets, pat the duck very dry inside and out. Rub the inside only with salt. Next, to tighten the skin, put the duck on a rack in the sink. Slowly pour boiling water over the skin so it tightens. Pat dry. Place the duck on a rack uncovered. Refrigerate up to 24 hours. This dries the skin out, making it crispy. Then a glaze, honey, soy sauce, vinegar, sugar, brush it on the skin. Roast it in the oven. Place the duck breast side up on a rack on a tray. Roast for 45 minutes. Flip the duck and roast it for another 30 minutes. Rest and carve. So you basically like just, almost salt cure it and tighten the duck skin and cover it in like a sticky sauce. I mean, come on. I've never had it, but I mean, it sounds amazing.
Yeah, it does.
It sounds really good.
I'm gonna have some kind of like peanut sauce and rice with it or something.
Ooh, peanut sauce.
Yeah.
They're getting very Thai with it. That's the only time I've had duck is with Thai food. It's pretty good.
Yep.
Can't complain. It's a duck pad Thai. Yeah, good luck. It'd be awesome to make.
And we're gonna have to figure out a place to set up to do any of that.
Right. Marceline's room.
No, it'll be up here in the workshop, I think.
There you go. Yeah,
We'll see.
Kill a duck on top of that guy's car. Yeah, threw the giblets in your car. I hope you wouldn't mind.
Probably wait until it warms up a little bit, gets a little drier out. It's so rainy.
Definitely much better than what these guys are doing, cooking over a metal grate on a campfire, eating canned beans and Rice Krispies.
Ugh. Now, I did have a really fun time cooking over a campfire one time at this campsite where I found this giant, flat, bowl-shaped rock, and I hauled it all the way back to the campsite, and I like sort of set up a rock oven and built a fire under it, and then we made stir fry just in the rock. Like the rock was a gigantic wok. It like got hot enough to eat stuff. It was great.
That's kind of awesome.
That was pretty kick-ass.
Yeah, I love camping. I love being outdoors like this. Last time I went, my friend made...
illegal.
He made like hot dogs and stuff, but in the morning we had jacket potatoes.
You had what?
Jacket potatoes.
What's that?
You basically like par cook a potato, cut it in half, fill it with cheese and bacon, seal it back up, cover it in tin foil, and just stick it in your bag. And in the morning, you just put it right in the fire. And in 30 minutes, you just have the most delicious bacon, cheesy potato right from the campfire.
It's pretty rad.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been playing Fallout 3 recently. Kind of reminds me of. I mean, obviously this isn't a post-apocalyptic movie, but it almost is, right? From an American perspective, like being invaded by a foreign country, almost is like the apocalypse because it feels like it could never happen.
Yeah, I know. Too exciting for this place.
Yeah, it's too exciting. It's just like the world being nuked and walking around in Fallout. You're eating out of a campfire.
Yeah.
Except Fallout takes place in Washington, D.C. So it doesn't take place in like the rural America where you can feel in touch with nature. Instead, you're wandering around the rubble and exploring abandoned metro stations.
Yeah, it's I've never been to Washington D.C., so I don't really. It's neat to play games that are of a place that you've been to.
Yeah. I've been to D.C. once. I was visiting a friend in Virginia, and I took a bus across D.C. to get to the Amtrak station. It was weird. I mean, you only see it in movies and stuff, but there it is. You're just like on a bus going through D.C., seeing all the the Capitol building and all the important government buildings. It's really crazy. It's surreal almost.
Yeah, I bet that would be strange.
Yeah, it's really weird. Our nation's capital. It's very bizarre that the capital is like, it's not a city, it's like its own independent territory inside the United States.
Yeah, why?
I'm not going to go down that conspiracy rabbit hole, but...
Okay.
but something about the city of London and DC are two separate territorial entities inside English and American states. I don't know. It gets weird. It's like the city of London, DC, and the Vatican. They're just independent cities. They're like city-states almost. They're like independent city-states inside of countries. It's very, very strange.
I'm not sure what the advantage is to doing that.
There's got to be some crazy secret shit. Right, because like Berlin is just like, I think it's the capital of Germany, right? Berlin? I don't know,
think so.
Munich something. Moscow. What's the capital of Russia? Is it Moscow, St. Petersburg?
Yeah.
What is it?
No, it's Moscow.
Yeah, let's just say it's Moscow. Moscow's not an independent city, it's just Moscow. But DC is like its own little thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's a little scary, a little strange. I don't know.
I don't know, maybe must be some legislative advantage to it somehow. Not sure
Probably.
what it would be about.
Well, they have their own rules, right? I think that's probably what it is. Like, the Italian government can't really touch the Vatican and all their strange treasures they have hidden. Maybe it's the same way with us. The country can't touch some strange treasures they have hidden under DC. Ben Franklin's gold glasses they've got like down there.
Yeah, something.
Fucking Stalin's nose.
Some kind of Nicolas Cage treasures.
Yeah, exactly. The real Declaration of Independence.
The real Declaration of Independence.
You got Walt Disney's head frozen down there.
Yeah.
George Washington's gold teeth.
They were wooden.
No, they
want you to.
no, yeah, they weren't wooden. They were made of the way they were dentures, but the way they used to make dentures back then is they would string together slave teeth.
Ew.
Yeah, so they would pull the different healthy teeth out of slaves' mouths and string them together with wire to make dentures.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's fucked up, huh?
Yeah.
George Washington's slave teeth. But that's goddamn, if that's not America, I don't know what isn't. I don't know what is.
How do they put it on like a wire frame with hinges or something? I mean, just thinking of like a tooth necklace in my mouth.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what they did. Let me look that up. Let me look up George Washington's fucking slave teeth. Let's see. GW slave teeth.
Boy, it's pretty out there.
I know.
Love these alpine woods up in Colorado, or this, I guess, would be around Vegas, like they said. But that whole American Southwest, the alpine woods around there, so pretty.
Yeah, it really is. Oh, it looks like some strange contraption. I don't know, it looks like...
Some kind of steel hinged frame.
Yeah, some kind of steel hinged frame with a bunch of black guy's teeth pulled out and stitched into it. I don't know. Well, it must have been a bad day at Martha's, or Mount Vernon. They're like, all right, we got to make a new set of dentures for George. Everybody line up.
What kind of plane is that?
A MiG, right? Isn't that the classic, like...
Yeah, that sounds right.
I don't know what it was called, the MiG something. Or maybe not, maybe, I don't know my jets.
You're right. No, that sounds correct. Should have looked like what that brings to mind.
What I also love about these 80s movies is this kind of story shows up a lot that are in favor of the Mujahideen fighting the Soviets, who would later become the Taliban. So, like, this is Rambo 3 is about Rambo fighting with the Taliban against the communists. Well, the Mujahideen who would become the Taliban. So it's just funny. Like, you have, like, this movie has these American youth, they're almost wrapped in, like, pseudo-Islamic rebel garb with, like, Patrick Swayze's headband and shit. Because they just thought the Mujahideen were badass. And then it turns out... And then it turns out that we would fight them not 10 years later, and they, yeah, so, I don't know, kind of funny.
Yeah, well, it's interesting how you find, It's interesting after big news happens about a place, there's so many things about that place to look back on that you just weren't in the public consciousness or that you didn't pay attention to. You're like, oh, wow,
Right.
all this weird stuff has been going on for a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seems to happen with all these different conflicts we get into.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff that we're not paying attention to all the time. Not that I really want to keep up with everything.
Right, well, it's the same thing with Iraq. Like, I'm pretty sure before we invaded Iraq and before they invaded Kuwait, we loved Iraq because they fought the Iraq-Iran war against Iran. And so we were like big on loving Iraq because we hate Iran because of, we love Israel. So, but then immediately after, we're like, fuck you, Iraq. We don't even know who you guys are. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. History's interesting. I mean, now that I'm too old, but after you get more years into your life, you start to see how, like, the pace at which things are changing these days, and I start to feel that, like, the last century or the last half a century really wasn't that long ago,
Sure.
Looking back on nostalgia from a quarter of a century ago, now I'm kind of feeling like, half a century really isn't that long.
Nope.
And for how much has changed, this really puts the pace of the change of civilization into perspective,
Yeah. Well, what was 50 years ago? 50 years ago was the bicentennial, right?
It was
1976.
like right when this movie came out. No, because 50
No.
years ago was like 1986, right? Or no.
1976.
No, yeah, you're right. 76.
Yeah. So I don't know. The world is. America's changed a lot since 1976.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I sort of see the 60s as the hippie revolution where, like, the country was obviously subverted with these different ideas. And the 70s almost feels like today, where it's like the hippies became teachers and got into positions of power, and people, like, really loved PBS.
Mhm.
There's something about the 70s, it feels like the hippies they became professionals, they became, I don't know, 70s seems like a strange time, but a good time.
Yeah,
Good
it's
but
weird
strange.
having lived in the 70s and 80s. They always had this sort of mystical feel to them, this time before I existed, these cultural and technological sensations that I'd never really understand firsthand.
Yeah,
Having my own dated technological and cultural memories puts it into perspective that it's not really like what would be portrayed in movies, and what we're seeing of the 80s I don't think is necessarily representative of living, other than, like, Uncle Buck would probably be a close one, right?
I guess we'd hope, in a suburban sense.
There's some kind of misrepresentation going on there, where just based on the way everything else seems to be from the times I remember, where everybody's always in too big a house and they're too animated and cool, wacky or something. Everything's a little bit over the top.
Yeah, what they're not showing you in the 80s movies are, like, black people dying of crack addictions in the inner cities, right? They're not showing you,
Yeah, or just really ordinary people being boring and not, knowing little about what's going on. Just,
right.
I don't know. Real life, like living in the 80s probably didn't feel like what it's represented at. Obviously, this isn't an accurate representation of the 80s, but
Oh,
what
yes,
movies
it
like
is.
Uncle stuff are
Because
pretty
this-
close. It's, gotta have some kind of warpage to it through these movies that, as a young kid hearing about the 80s, you kind of, I don't know, it takes on this mystical feel, something. It's faded over time for me.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's also the last decade before the mass adoption of the internet, right? So it
Yeah.
still feels connected to
Some
the
people didn't use
old.
the internet too much for a lot of things, and then I mean, obviously some people did, but in my life, like, I don't remember much happening on the internet except for some of my dad's like, auto repair shop, like parts lookup and ordering things happened on like a Windows 95 computer, I think, and yeah, that big white machine would be the only exposure to the internet I'd have until like 2003 or 4, I think.
Hmm.
When I
That's
got
always-
back into public school, I was homeschooled for a few years. So when I got back into public school in 2003 or 4, then I started doing my computer lab stuff. Eventually, my family got a computer with AOL dial-up, and yeah. But in the 90s, yeah, it was just like DOS and Windows 95 machines doing parts lookup stuff or something.
Hmm. Yeah, okay, so my only frame of reference is like the early 2000s, because I feel like I was on the internet fairly early. I like, my sister and I would go to work with our mom, and as she was working in her office, we would just sort of like sit at an empty computer watching early 2000s internet videos, or
Mhm.
then maybe by like 7, 8, 9 is when my mom set up like a little computer room. So like just I and other, like my friends or my sister, could use computers. Like I remember because they just had a bunch of leftover computers from work. So I remember in our basement, my mom just set up like 3 or 4 computers right next to each other, just to have like a computer room for people to use.
Wow, that kicks ass.
Yeah, it
You
was
just had
kind of
like
awesome.
a parts constantly. Did you just play a lot of LAN games with your friends or something?
Not really. It was more like you
That's so
go.
convenient.
It was more like you play Flash games by yourself next to your friend who's also playing a Flash game.
That's what I ended up doing a lot of
Yeah.
the time too. But we had 2 computers set up right next to each other. I remember a few times some nerdy friends of mine would like bring their computers over to my house or whoever's house we were going to, and we just set up a bunch of desktop computers on a dining room table next to each other to
That's
play.
awesome.
It was fun. It was kind of cool, but yeah, a lot of the time we just take turns playing Flash games on whoever's computer, or uh, my girlfriend would fill out Facebook quizzes, and I'd watch.
Yes, the Facebook quizzes.
Girls would show me like the stupid orange videos and the like weird like unicorn guys talking about shit, and I'm like, I don't, a lot of those like
I know what you're talking about. Charlie the
a lot of
Unicorn.
early YouTube videos I didn't appreciate much at the time. I look back on them as like, oh yeah, I remember when they showed me that. But it's kind of like they were dumb. It was like, what? I don't get it, because they thought it was so great, and I was like, what am I missing? It's not that great, and I don't get it. And they're like, you just don't understand. And I'm like, I guess, I don't know. You must have missed the excitement.
Well, how weird is it that, if you're born in the 80s, your memories and fond teenage years, they're not necessarily filled with virtual stuff. Like, I think that video games and computers were obviously around, but there was probably a stigma against them. Whereas us, like, we have memories of Charlie the Unicorn videos and playing LAN games with our friends. It's hard to dramatize these things in stories because they seem so ridiculous.
Yeah, right. Like writing a novel with reference to too many things on a laptop and a phone feels like it breaks the fourth wall, even if it's not.
I know.
Right?
It's yeah. There's a real struggle I think, in the modern artistic.
In fact, I've noticed a trend in TV shows where they don't include much cell phone stuff. Like when
Right.
not
They
not
can't.
necessarily that they wouldn't include like a person using a cell phone when they need to use a cell phone, but just that like they try not to make any cell phone usage a big part of what's going on the screen or in a scene at any point in time. Like they don't really paint a picture of a ton of phone zombies at any point in a
Right.
TV show. Somehow it's just got to be like bad for ratings or something. Like they can't
Well, I mean, look
like
look at this scene.
like
Look how
fourth
majestic.
walls.
Look at this scene. Look how majestic they look. Now imagine if they were just
Yeah,
holding phones in their hand and looking at their phones.
yeah, it looked pretty lame.
It would look absurd. It would just look bizarre, but that's how we all look. Oh. Well, in the movie Crazy Rich Asians, I don't know, you've probably never seen it, but in the beginning, all these like rich Singaporean and Chinese people are all texting each other back and forth to say that like the rich family's son found a girlfriend, and they have this like animated thing where like the text zooms through the air and there are all these like colorful connections, all these people getting the text message and the emails, and I guess that's a way to show mass text chains, but it's obviously an artistic representation, an exaggerated one, because in reality, you can't just show people going, it just looks, it's not fun. It breaks the fourth wall in a way that it removes immersion, probably, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I would think.
It just totally removes immersion. Nobody wants to see
Yeah,
somebody look like that.
what is it? So you see somebody looking at a phone, and it's just too close to home culturally and procedurally for your day to day. Like,
It's hyper real.
you know what? When you see a character looking at their phone, I think it makes you think about your phone and what you could be doing on your phone, and suddenly you're out of the movie and into your life thinking about like, oh, this is what like it's so realistic and it just reminds you of your day to day, right? Like it brings you out
Maybe.
because of that. I think so.
I think that there's a shame aspect linked to it, because we know that we're never doing anything important on our phones. So to see somebody using a phone in that way, it feels unexciting. Just like you never see a movie where somebody is repeatedly wiping their ass. There's never a scene where somebody's just going like, oh god, there's a lot of poop in my ass, and they're just, because there's like shame. That's something you don't, like, you just don't need to see that in a movie. There's no way that it doesn't add to anything. It could be comedic, but it doesn't, it's just a normal thing that happens every day with people, but you can't put it in a movie.
Yeah.
It's not something, it's not the way we want to see ourselves. If people watch movies to see exaggerated versions of heroics or bravery or even like moral quandaries, you don't want to see, you want to see dramatic shame, like I'm a heroin addict and passing out in the gutter. You don't want to see them like really itching their balls for like 5 minutes. Or like, oh my god, my fucking dick is itchy today. What's going on?
Yeah, or like
God
the
damn.
whole process of trying to get a fire lit, like it's just
Yes,
not
yes,
working.
sure. It's just 45 minutes trying to light a fire. Like, god damn it, this isn't working. And that's what I think the phones are. I think the phones remind us of the fact that when people are mostly looking at their phones, they're never doing anything on them. They're just wasting their time, but they don't want to be wasting their time. They want to be They want to be running around in the snow-filled forest with their gorilla friends, shooting at enemy combatants. They don't want to be on their phone.
Yeah, I always have these nice dreams of wandering through a post-apocalyptic abandoned landscape, just searching with 10 buddies who never speak for shelter and resources. Seems so nice.
Did I tell you about my Paris dream I had the other day?
No.
I had a vivid dream that I was visiting Paris. And I had a backpack on. I don't even know if this was Paris, but I was just like wandering around a Parisian train station and thinking like, wow, this is France. And then I randomly ran into like 10 people I knew from high school. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys are here? And they're like, hey, what's going on? And I was just so amazed. And I'm like, wow, Paris is bringing us all together. This is great. And it felt real. It felt like I was actually on a vacation in Paris. You have that sort of, I had that sort of like vacation awe. You're like, whoa, oh my God. And then I woke up in my
You're good at
bed.
that. That whole imagination process doesn't work the same when you know what's actually happening. Because I think to know what's happening is to spin up parts of your brain that do like meta pattern analysis, where it's like you've got all this experiential stuff and your reactionary behaviors to it. But if you actually pay attention to the extra layer of information where it's like, oh, this is a hallucination, I'm sleeping right now, I'm dreaming, then you start doing analyses about this whole other layer of shit to think about. And you either wake up or start having a lucid dream and it just feels different. It's like more mentally exhausting, like you're not getting rest. The wrong parts of your brain are turned on for being asleep. So you have a much easier time flowing through these imaginative sequences, believing that it's real, I guess, because you don't have all this extra cognition that goes beyond just having surface level reactions to whatever the dream is about.
Mm. Yeah, it would be way worse to know that you're dreaming. It's kind of what makes the dream nice. Yeah.
Plus, you have to kind of direct everything.
Right.
It turns into a gray void. You say you don't really have a void in your imagination, though. I wonder what your lucid dream space would look like if you started trying to control the environment in it.
I don't know. I don't want to know. That sounds like I don't believe in demons, but that sounds like a way to invite in demons. You just open up your dreamscape to suggestion, and all of a sudden monsters start trickling in, and you're trapped forever.
Well, it's weird. I only ever enter lucid dreams when I'm having a terrifying nightmare, and once I start having the lucid dream, the nightmare dissolves into a gray void, and I kind of just float onto my feet. I just stand there in the middle of an empty gray void, and I can make stuff appear, and it's pretty chill. I can make stuff disappear.
The demons are trying to get you to embrace your life as some sort of esoteric magician in the dream world.
Yeah, well, I've only been in the state twice. It's the only two times I've been able to do it was after like doing a mantra before bed about like trying to remind myself that I'm in a dream for 2 weeks. Every night doing that. Before I fall asleep while I'm lying there. And then, after a couple of weeks, it just eventually works for some reason, always during some nightmare scenario. But it's hard to get the motivation to actually do that, to sit there like really trying to focus on remembering that you're dreaming. It's just a pain in the ass to do. A lot of stuff to do in life. No.
I had to execute that commie.
Or commie.
And they got to execute their friend who also betrayed them.
They're all wearing the same jackets though.
Yeah, well, they were like fighting in the snow.
Yeah, well, You gotta do what you gotta do. What, did you just shoot him in the hand? No, he got him. Okay.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, it's a rough life of being a rebel.
Yeah. The grass isn't always greener on the other side.
You gotta execute your
Grass
friends.
is brown as hell, man.
You think I'm on the same side as you, but then I sell you out to the Russians for extra rations, and you're like, God damn it, Chris. You're gonna put a slug in me.
Greener grass.
Oh, food!
They get to keep those guys' rations now.
That's true. Take their boots off and just leave them.
Yeah. What size are these?
Yeah, what size are these boots? Take their rings off. Give me those rings. You ever ridden a horse?
Yeah, a couple of times, I think. Not quickly, though. I never got the horse to run. They just made me have the horse walk.
Yeah. Seems hard.
It bounces more than it looks like in TV, so you kind of have to, you have to like rock up and down with it so that you're not like jerking it around, you're not bouncing around really hard. Kind of like try to move around with the movements so that it's not, you don't want to jostle and bang on the animal and bang on your ass.
Right. Imagine doing that 200 miles.
Like, all of the stuff to do with the reins and like the sounds and stuff, all of that seems pretty accurate. You pull on the reins to make them slow down, or you kind of like do a little rein whip and say yeah or something to make them run from the sound of things. I don't know. You can probably get a lot more specific than that, but it does seem like that part's kind of seemingly similar to what's going on in TV, but the thing that was surprising was just that it's more of a rough ride than you think it is based on what it looks like.
Oh.
Plus, most people have a really tough time getting up. It's a really tall animal, and you got to stick your foot in that stirrup and then like hoist yourself way up on this tall animal.
Yeah.
And I have trouble with it because I'm tall and good at climbing on stuff. But if you're like a shorter lady or something like that, I guess this can be difficult.
Yeah, sounds like it. We gotta grab that little like notch thing at the top of the saddle, right? And then just like put your foot in.
Yeah,
and stir
I
up
don't know what it's called, but it's like a big knob.
Yeah.
Kind of grab onto that.
The
foot
horse
in and-
knob.
Hmm?
The horse knob.
Horse knob, yeah. Grab onto it. You gonna shoot that eagle? That rocket.
With an RPG.
Eagle hunting with the RPG.
Now let's see.
Shit, they dropped some boxes. Bought a set of binoculars on Amazon, and like, I don't know what's wrong with it, but like it won't let me make my eyes blend the images. The images are like, I don't know, not aligned,
Huh.
separated far or something. I can't. None of its adjustments make it not messed up. I'm just like, these are useless.
Are they just cheap Chinese binoculars?
Yes, I tried to pay for middle of the road stuff. I can't remember if I looked at reviews thoroughly with this one or not. This was a while ago. But yeah, every time I try to use them, I'm just like, yep, I don't know. I have to look up what must be wrong with the thing. I don't know. That's what I'm doing.
That's weird. I don't even know how they work. I mean, it's a lens, right? But how does it blend that image so perfectly?
Sure, I'm gonna look it up and see if there's an adjustment I can do to what I got to change that problem. But yeah, I think it's a side-to-side adjustment issue where it's not like coming together in the image. It can bend in the middle. It's got like that joint in the middle to bend it, but it's not adjusting it to the point of fixing this placement of the two viewports. Yeah,
Right.
I think it's just like I think they're angled wrong and they're looking at different stuff, so that's why it doesn't mesh.
I need to get some binoculars to watch the birds in my backyard. It sounds
Yeah,
like a
I don't know what they
crazy...
eat. So.
Yeah, exactly. You need to eagling binoculars.
Yeah, we got a lot of cool birds over here.
Yeah. Birds are calming and nice. It's nice to just look at some birds and, you know, that's obviously like 15-year-old me would think that's insane, but no, 30-year-old me is like, I really just want to sit in silence and drink coffee and look at the bird because the birds won't let me down.
Yeah, birds are cool. I like hanging out with the ducks. There's something more entertaining about the ducks than the chickens. The chickens are too confident. They know what I'm gonna do. They're just chill. But the ducks, I guess, having not been domesticated as long in history, are just kind of nervous around large animals. And for some reason, it's entertaining that they are constantly paying attention to me, kind of like, what are you gonna do? Hey, dude, what are you doing in here? And somehow, I just like hanging out with them. Better than the chickens, and it must have something to do with this behavior of theirs where they're just like, oh my god, this guy's here. Ugh.
Another gunship.
Oh no, they got him. I think this must be Red Rock Canyon, right? Where they're filming.
I don't know.
That's the color of sand that's in Red Rock Canyon, that really dark red, rusty sand.
Oh, I think they have that all over the Southwest. I don't think it's necessarily just that part of Colorado.
Particularly dark at Red Rock Canyon, and it does look pretty red here. And they said that's one of the filming locations, or well, that it's around the area, which this is pretty close to Vegas, where they could have been filming on the west side.
Well, when I was in St. George, Utah, which is the bottom
Yeah, it's pretty red
west,
there too.
yeah, it's really red. I was amazed. It was 104 degrees, and the entire town was surrounded by giant red peaks.
Oh yeah,
It was
that
bizarre.
trail is so cool. I love it through there.
Yeah.
I want to take the Jeep back to where I bought it and drive around Escalante and stuff.
I do. I'd like to go back. Yeah, that just seems like such a wonderful place. It seems so free. I like the Southwest. I mean, I'm enjoying living in the Northeast again. It's only been 20 days, but I can already tell that there's something about life west of the Rockies that are just, I don't know, you feel like a cowboy. Just the nature makes you feel like a cowboy.
When you're like driving by on those tiny, lonely highways where you almost never see anybody, passing these big red pillars and mesas and stuff, and you see little rock arches and shit. There's just this weird magical feeling about it, like some kind of geographical spirit to the place that, I don't know, it's just, there's some gravitas to the landscapes, and just looking at these weird shaped, gigantic formations, you're like, whoa, gigantic red cliff pillar stuff. It's weird, you know?
Yeah.
You just can't stop staring at it, thinking like, wow.
That's what it felt like in Sedona in Arizona too.
Yeah.
All the crazy hippy dippy people say there are like energy vortices that are out there. That's you go out there and stand in the energy vortex, and it does something to your prostate. I don't know.
No, I think it's just
awesome looking. It's just awesome.
Visual, the knowledge of the serenity of the place. You know, you look at that tree on the cliff, and you're like, damn, this tree just lives this isolated, lonely, humble life in the desert, just kind of like
Right.
time just flows over this place with so little drama, you know? Like
Sure.
people live and die so much less out there in the lonely desert, this silent place, that you just kind of feel like instead of being immersed in human culture, you're immersed in this like careless ancient system of living and dying that's gone on for millions of years. You feel a little bit closer to the very large time scale aspects of life out there in the slow moving desert, um, where in a city, obviously, you're going to feel attuned to very fast paced environments.
I think that's a good way to put it. That is what it feels like.
Hmm.
You just feel more in tune with nature. But the nature, like you could feel in tune with nature east of the Rockies, but it doesn't have that external factor. It's like just staring at a giant red mountain. You're not supposed to see a giant red mountain. It might as well be fake.
Yeah.
But there it is.
Yeah, like, well, it just evokes wonderment of, like, how. I mean, the landscape just looks like dinosaur land, basically.
Yeah.
So somehow, through the various avenues of how knowledge is connotated with each other in your mind, you see these like big red pillar and cliff formations, and you're like, wow, this place is ancient. Time here moves slowly, and there's just, not a care about the life here. It's just, it's the Wild West, so to speak, where it's like you just looking at all this stuff that nobody fucking cares if that tree on the cliff lives or dies. It's just a lonely tree that nobody ever visits or looks at or
Mm,
cares about, owns. Just the way, and that's probably not true, but the way that it looks when you're out there looking at this very looming, lonely landscape, like like a little northeast of St. George, Utah, and like being out there in the desert where nobody drives around in the evening and night. It's spooky how lonely it is, and those
sure.
gigantic formations that seem to go on forever without any civilization. It's like you're really alone there. There's probably trees that nobody ever visits, and
Yeah.
yeah, it just feels like there's like you can be out in nature where nobody will care if you die anymore because it's so isolated, and it feels like you're exploring something scary about how little the universe cares about life, or maybe how much everything has some kind of like equivalent importance in the face of this like grand, grinding machine of just eating up life and producing new life, and everybody's individuality is meaningless in the face of the machine itself, and somehow just trying to be in touch with it and exploring it has some gravitas and intrigue to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes me feel like, because some parts like Arizona, they were under the water. So they have this quality, like they look so alien because at one
Mm.
point in time they were literally under the ocean.
Yeah,
You
that's
know, like,
interesting.
yeah, like Arizona has volcanoes and stuff that aren't active. And you see,
Reminds
like,
me of
like
Sex and
a,
Robots episode where the people are, the car breaks down in the desert and
I was
they're
about to
like
say that.
hallucinations of the big fish.
The age of the door-to-door salesman is over. But no, yeah, like I went last time I was in Arizona. I went to Papago Park, which is just a nice little park near a man-made lake. But they have this giant rock formation with that's really big, with like a hole near the top, and people just they hike around the back, and you just go up to the hole, and you just walk through it, and you sit on the ledge and watch the sun set over Phoenix. It's beautiful just being on this big rock, but it also looks like something you'd put in your aquarium for your fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it just looks like a thing you'd buy at the pet store to just put in your fish tank. It used to be underwater. So the rock
Yeah, the way
sometimes,
at
yeah.
these areas is strange. These canyons and mesas and all this, stuff down in there in the desert. It's just so bizarre. Especially those really tall pillars. Like I couldn't get to it. I got stuck in the desert in the middle of the night for an hour trying to find this pillar off road and that Ford Ranger that was on its last leg and wouldn't go faster than 45 miles per hour.
Mm.
It's just really not a great decision to try to drive out into the sandy desert. And I got back out, just lost for a little while.
And
Couldn't find the big pillar I was looking for.
I don't know how you feel about this, but I kind of like some old country and bluegrass music, and
Yeah.
it just doesn't feel right to listen to that outside of the Southwest. Somehow, when
Yeah,
you're,
you gotta
yeah,
find some sand dunes to wander in and put on some music where nobody's around. You know what? There was this one night I was the sand dunes in Death Valley National Park drift around quite a bit, but this last time I stayed there, the campground was pretty close to the sand dunes. It wasn't really close, but it was a distance where you could walk over to the sand dunes if you were dedicated enough. So I um, smoked a bunch of weed and walked across the sand to the dunes and just wandered around them for like 5 hours in the middle of the night. Ended up just kind of laying down alone in the sand dunes at 3 a.m. and got kind of spooked trying to lay down on top of a dune and close my eyes because I realized I was like 2 hours walking distance from because I'd just gone straight into the dunes and didn't make any turns for
oh
a
my
couple
God,
hours. I'd be really hard to find right now if coyotes tried to eat me. I should like get up and open my eyes.
yeah, oh my God. Well, there's this funny feeling, like when I was living in Inglewood and they had the Edward Vincent James Park near my house that I'd walk to. I'd smoke some weed or take mushrooms, and my goal would be to lie in the beautiful grass in the park. And funny you bring up a coyote. Sometimes in the park there would just be one coyote running around. Even it's a park in
Yeah.
the middle of the fucking city. But I'd want to lie down in the grass and just relax, and there'd be part of me that feels this aversion to lay down in the grass. Some part of me is like, what if there are bugs down there? What if the coyote comes and bites me when I'm not looking? But I don't know, like you're supposed to lie down in nature with your back
Well,
and your skin against the grass or the sand, you know?
I have a fairly low um, sample size, frankly, if I'm going to be experimental about this, but I've got some fairly high confidence in my hypothesis about, um, how it feels to be at a, like, how it feels to have your head on or close to a place where people walk around, like a surface that people put their feet on. Like, there's
Wow.
a super humbling feeling about having your head close to the floor. If
Yeah.
you think about like lying with your face pressed up against the floor in a place where people usually walk, like it just feels uncomfortable, dangerous, dirty, kind of like your eyes are irritated. And if you do anything close to that, where you're kind of like your head's not on the floor but it's on your hand, you just feel kind of like lowly. And then if
Sure.
you on from there to some other position, like let's just go to the lotus position after that. There's still a humbling feeling about sitting on the floor like that. Um,
Yeah.
but it's not as humbling as pressing your face against it. And then obviously standing with like your arms on your fists on your hips and your chest out and your shoulders back and all this like, confident stance advice type stuff, makes you feel a different way. But it's
Right.
interesting. It made me think like there's lotus position that the Buddhists like to meditate in. There's a couple other positions that they like, but it's interesting how it blends this sense of humility with this sense of confidence. You're like, sitting in the lotus position, or maybe on your knees is a more comfortable way to do it, and of sitting back between your heels. And you feel not terribly uncomfortable, exposed, or lowly. You just feel kind of down there close to the floor. You feel kind of humble, but in a way that allows you to focus with some kind of like confidence that balances the humility. And I'm not sure exactly how that's helping meditation, but I think it's like just standing up in a confident stance doesn't feel like it would be very good for meditation. It feels like it'd be distracting, and so would pressing your face against the floor.
Yeah. And I found that being on the floor and lying in bed is not humbling. Like, I've tried to meditate by lying down in bed, or like lying down on the floor, or like, it just feels totally different.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a different in comfort.
Much of a sensibility dogs have about this, where if you're just like, no, get off the bed, no couch for you, or whatever like that, if they're like, damn, I'm a really lowly animal, aren't I?
Yeah, they definitely know. They're definitely like, I like being on this big, comfortable thing off the ground.
Yeah, it's nice, but I wonder if they get that differential of confidence and humility with it too. If they've got that same, because there's a lot of these spectra of like sensibilities that are going to be uniquely human that we have. Like, it's based on knowledge though. So like this situation where you've got a differential of like humility versus confidence, that sounds mammalian and animalistic. It sounds
Maybe.
like it's not necessarily based on knowledge that needs to be convoluted out of language and stuff. So, but based on the way that they act, dogs have a good chance of having a very similar sense of being humbled by having their heads closer to the floor like we do.
Yeah, it probably has a lot more to do with showing your stomach, though, right? You know what I mean? Like a human.
What I'm talking about specifically is about having the eyes close to the floor, eyes and mouth and nose. But the stomach thing is different. Definitely, that's more specific to dogs than people. But we kind of have that too, where when you're being accused of a crime you're guilty of, you'll cover up your midsection because you're kind of vulnerable there, subconsciously shielding yourself in all kinds of ways.
Right.
Oh, he's merciful.
Yeah, he's an honorable soldier. They went over before in the movie about how his expertise is in helping rebels in Cuba and South America, not in being an occupation force. So he has sympathy for rebels. And he's a South American guy. He doesn't want to be in the cold anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't like snow.
Yeah, he's like, man, fuck this snow. What's another 80s Cold War movie? You got Rambo 2, you got Red Dawn. I guess you could do Rambo 3. War Games.
When was Tide film? That's a 90s film, right?
What movie?
Crimson Tide. It's a 90s movie, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a 90s movie. It's not the same. It doesn't have the same. I think by that time the patriotic fervor of real America had died out, and it's replaced by a sort of managed professionalism. Like in Red Dawn, if Red Dawn, not Red Dawn, Crimson Tide, if Crimson Tide was made in the 80s, Gene Hackman would be the good guy. Versus
Right.
like, Denzel Washington is like the uptight, too by the book submarine captain, and Gene Hackman's like, no, we gotta get the Russians now, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I think, yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like that's an apt description of what would happen. It was a good
Patriots
movie.
Yeah. Oh, you mean Crimson Tide?
Yeah, Crimson Tide was a good movie.
Yeah, I like that movie.
And that's Tony Scott. Yeah, the Patriots did
Kick-ass
win. The Rebels won.
James, we're born.
How much one of those plaques cost? You think they made that out of plywood?
I don't know, they probably made it out of iron, right? The cheapest metal they could find.
Well, normally I think those are bronze castings, those
Right.
plaque, or if it would, that's what it's trying to look like, and those are probably pretty expensive. I don't know, they probably could have sanded down some plywood to make that. Just the letters look difficult. I don't know. Maybe they had it casted.
You think it looked like plywood?
No, it really didn't. They would have done a good job. It's this big concrete monument. It's a pretty big pour, and then you got to put this expensive brass casting on it. I mean, that's a lot of money just for the prop.
Right. For a 2-second scene. So what do you
Yeah,
think
I
of
wonder if
Red
they
Dawn?
had the set designers fabricate it somehow. Seems cheaper.
What do you think of Red Dawn?
It's a fun movie, you know. I mean, everybody loves a action fantasy. You know, suddenly you can drop your job at the high school or the gas station and start strategizing to beat the Russians.
Right.
Stuff like
yeah.
that's fun.
Yeah.
What's your favorite walking around? You know, your phone's dead, you're on a long walk and you're trying to have some kind of fantasy about the way that something that could happen that's exciting and what you would do.
I mean, you mean like what's my favorite fantasy to like a daydream to have?
Yeah, I suppose like maybe not something that you've enjoyed recent, whatever comes to mind, some kind of like zombie apocalypse or everybody disappears except you and a bunch of, whoever that you choose, or
they're
some
related
kind
to
of...
Red Dawn. I have fascist daydreams. I walk around all day and I'm like, imagine America and we're great again, and I'm just like thinking about like somebody's making an apple pie and they're like, would you like an apple pie? We arrested all those communists. Oh, I'd love a slice of apple pie.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Sometimes like I'm in the car listening to like some old music and I just like think to myself like, God damn it, this country's going to hell. Those are my those are my daydreams. Other than the fictitious movies I make up in my head as I'm walking along, I always have the like, one day America will be back.
Yeah, well, get some acreage. See if you can put some kind of, little Luddite community together. It's really what everybody needs, I guess.